Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent and the most merciful. Assalamu alaikum, students. Welcome to business communication class for chapter 3, business communication and the global context. First of all, what is globalization? What is globalization? You just brainstorm your knowledge about that. Then I will tell you what is globalization. Basically, throughout the business world, the term globalization is very well known. Globalization means that for a company to survive, it must establish markets not only in its own country but also in the foreign countries. So, this employees and must understand other cultures and other cultural variables as well. Additionally, we must be aware of our own country's ethnic diversity in order to communicate effectively with global companies. So here we will discuss in this chapter that our background to intercultural communication, national cultural variables, and individual cultural variables. So first of all, proceeding to our lecture for culture. What is culture basically? So culture basically is as the term communication is difficult to define. So the term culture also is difficult to define. Few authors, the authors authors research suggest and the author of this book, his research suggests there are at least 164 definitions of culture exist with at least six categories predominating. So uh, for our purpose, or purpose of business communication, culture refers to behavioral characteristics typical of a group. It means the behavioral characteristics of a group refers to culture. So this definition implies that communications, both oral and non-verbal within a group, are also typical of that group and are often unique. Thus, to assume that all the suggestions for improving your written and oral communication as noted are valid throughout the world is incorrect. So, cultural generalizations applicable to an entire nation are impossible, and knowing core characteristics of a country are basic to better international communication. So, why we are interested in studying culture and the cultural habits? So, uh, this um, this is because of globalization. Because when you as employee and you as an employer, you have to understand other cultures or your own cultures as well, other culture and your own cultures, values and diversities, cultural diversities. So here, culture refers to the behavioral characteristics typical of a group. Intercultural communication is a process of sending and receiving messages between people whose cultural background lead to interpret signs differently, verbally or non-verbally. So, effective intercultural communication opens business opportunities around the world and improves the contribution of employees in diverse workforce. For example, IBM, Telenor, Microsoft, Siemens, these all have include intercultural communication while they are working in, even in Pakistan, they are working with different nationals, with diversity people. So they have to deal with intercultural communication. There are if this communication between different people, if the communication between the people who have different backgrounds is so difficult, then why we appoint multinational and diversity people in our organization? Because there are many advantages associated with multinational workforce. So which are communication among people of diverse cultural backgrounds and life experiences is not always easy, but doing it successfully can create tremendous advantages, because when there are people, different people, they have different cultural backgrounds and different settings and different learning styles, different values, so different brought up, so they will create a more productive output. So, and as we know that 2 plus 2 is not equal to 22. So, or 1 plus 1 is not only 11. So, synergy effect takes place with the diversity people even. So, if you, even if you never visit any other another country or transit business or global scale, you have to interact with co-workers from different cultures. So, if you interact with co-workers of different cultures without visiting that country, that makes you learn about the culture of that country as well. Well, and another advantage, or a few other advantages are: employee from different culture offer broader spectrum of viewpoint and ideas, help companies to understand and identify with diverse markets. Here, your skill to recognize different cultures can open up business opportunities throughout the globe. It enables a company to have a broadest possible pool of talent from around the globe. And like every country opens its immigrations, so if you have a skill of studying other cultures, then you will be skills on other cultures, then you will be able to um, apply to for immigrations, like as the host country invites. Studies have long determined that all of us are more comfortable with persons we know and we hold similar beliefs. But a core cultural value comes close to being fixed in stone, knowing the basic ethical and moral concepts to which different ethnic and cultural groups subscribe. So, out of that comfort zone, we have to go out of our comfort zone and to interact with diversity people. That brings us many benefits like these. Cultural differences. Hello style in different countries and even in different areas within the country are different. So cultural differences in if you think Pakistan, even whole Pakistan don't have a similar culture. In Pakistan there, there are hundreds of varieties of culture present in within Pakistan, and they differ from each other in their greetings, in their festivals, in their dressing, food, etc. Then few countries have a style of bow down, handshake, hugs, etc. Like in Japan, when they greet, they greet and meet each other, they bow down. In Pakistan, we have a culture of handshake and hug. Likewise, the Arab countries, they hug and kiss when they even formally meet each other. So this is the difference between different cultures. So even the thank style is different. Offer to eat something styles are different, and name style is different, and few other things which are in other cultures. So everything is quite different in different cultures. So we while why we are sharing this, because while we interact with different cultures, while we communicate, whether written or oral communication is between intercultural communication, then we have to keep, or we have to keep in mind, we have to consider these cultural differences, so that we should not say anything that is offensive, and we should say the things which are appreciated in order to get our message um, received more effectively. Then, what are the national cultural variables? National cultural variables are education, law and regulations, economics, politics, religion, social norms, languages. First of all, what are national cultural variables? An entire country may have a series of cultural norms. Individual ethnic groups within that country may accept most of these norms, as well as adding their own. So, when communicating with business people in a foreign country, we must realize that an overall national and individual cultural differences within the cultures further affect those stimuli. So, it is suggested that the macro or global constraints and variables that communicators must face when working with foreign receivers of their messages, then the items like um, education, regulation, economics, politics, social norms, and language. And these are mainly national cultural variables, and we should understand them, know they exist, and we begin our discussion here like about each national cultural variable. First is education. Management education, including training in business communication, is more prevalent in United States than in other countries. Some countries have no academic courses in communication training. So America has a focus on management education, and more as compared to the other countries. Highest level of education in less than high school in Chinese, it is 5.4%, Asia 2.5%, USA 0.1%, who are less than high school. Then postgraduate education levels of Chinese, Asians and US, I am giving you a comparison. And the in postgraduate degree comparison, Chinese are 2.7% Chinese, 2.25% Asian who get postgraduate degrees, and US 30%. So here we will see that how much US focuses stresses on the education or general management, for career and general management. So here a quick assumption can be made from this comparison that that Asians, particularly Chinese, are less interested in education, and the nation is ill-equipped to hold its own with other ill-equipped to hold its own with other parts of the world. So if you made this such an assumption, then you would be wrong. You must go beyond your initial inference and assess the reasons that Chinese manager lack extensive education. So you should go beyond the surface conclusion, not on the basis of mere on the basis of these percentages which I have given, that Chinese for the postgraduate are only 0.7%, and Asian 25%, and US 30%. On the basis of these overall or superficial overall figure, you should not go to the surface conclusion, rather you should go deep. So actually, in relation to its size, China doesn't have many institutions of higher education in contrast to the United States in relation to its size and population. Then in 1980s, there were only 675 institutions of higher education, increasing to 902 in 1984. And by 1985, the latest figures, the number has in by 1985, and the latest number has that it has reached above 2000. So China is an agrarian economy means agricultural based economy. Over 800 million people still live in the countryside, and 69% of the labor force is agricultural. So, education, some early Chinese leaders felt, was not needed in such environment. So that's why Chinese don't have much extensive higher education. Then most universities were closed during the Cultural Revolution. That was around 1996 to 1976, the 10 years Cultural Revolution. Then self-study and private tutoring occurred during the Cultural Revolution. But the most young, college-aged, and education was not available. So a less educated A less educated Chinese manager accept between 1977 to 1980 except this period. A less educated Chinese manager and faced an max age maximum age 25 for taking a college entrance examination. So if we interpret and if we go deep down in these facts, then we will an understanding of the political structure of China before concluding that communication is less important to Chinese. We should not communicate that. So these are cultural differences based on few facts, reasons. Then TQM courses is a must in Japan. Like total quality management course is a must in Japan. In every education, they make the students understand and learn about total quality management. So and Japanese management is very famous in our managerial structure as well. For example, they believe in Kaizen. Kaizen is continuous improvement. They say that nothing is made perfect. If you they focus on continuous improvement for inventory, for management, for people, for efficiency, for everything. They believe in Kaizen, continuous improvement. In Europe, certificates and diplomas are more appreciable. In Pakistan and India, degrees are very important. You can yourself witness that Pakistanis have got more degrees and higher education. So these are cultural differences in education. Then is laws and regulations. In developed and developing nations, various government laws and regulations affect business communication and sale of products. In both developed and developing nations, these government regulations affect business communication and sale of products. For example, advertising directed at the children is restricted in a few developed countries like United States, Canada, Scandinavia like Norway, Finland, Norway, Denmark, etc. The type of product to be advertised, for example, cigarettes, is restricted in Europe, is also restricted in Pakistan, and also money spent on advertising is limited. So other countries such as France, Mexico, and province of Quebec also have a restriction on the use of foreign languages in advertisement. So in Iran, it was difficult to show the World Cup tournaments held at the United States because American women who participated in the games exposed more than is permitted in Iran. So they don't show those matches in their national televisions. So, moreover, the sale of Western publications showing unveiled women is forbidden in Iran. No fashion magazines are allowed into the country, and cosmetic makeup, including perfume, is prohibited. So, these are laws and regulations which we need to understand why we are doing even business transactions between different countries. Like America, if it's transacting and if it is in dealing or in transaction with Iran, America has to follow the laws and regulations prevalent in the country. Then is economics. Economics is availability of capital and transformation and transportation. Availability of capital and transportation, and the standard of living per capita vary from nation to nation. The opportunity to borrow money, the rate of inflation, and the exchange rates influence business and the country's ability to communicate concerning that business. So we also have to take these economics and economic variables into consideration while communicating with the specific culture and nation. Then, prices of oil set by OPEC in some countries, while others set their own prices. OPEC is Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. So, they have made an organization and which set price on a group level. So, if you follow these economics and few follow set their own prices, and like UAE has free ports, but others have barriers. So those who are offering free ports, there will be the trade pattern will be different from those who charge import tax, port is tax and tariff tax trade and tariffs on trades. Then politics. Even concepts of democracy will vary as interpreted in Korea, the Philippines, or the Great Britain. They have the same pattern, democracy, but even the democracy itself differs. Indeed, the Indeed, the sweeping political changes in Eastern Europe and its altered concepts of government will affect future business relations. Even the events in Tiananmen scares affect individuals and business contracts with China. So more changes will certainly occur in the future. So all such events do what? They affect communication. Understanding of a country and a company's willingness to do business in an unclear political environment. So these events affect communication in these ways, like in understanding of companies' willingness to do business in that unclear political environment. So politics plays a very important role for communication. This is not based upon like these factors does not affect merely the how we should communicate. It also affects on the decision to communicate or not communicate, and even if to communicate to which extent, not to communicate to which extent. Then is religion. Religion is be especially careful of religious beliefs within a foreign country because to religion, every person, all human beings are very sensitive for their religious values and religious matters. So we should be very careful about the religious beliefs while communicating with them, while doing intercultural communication. Although some basic beliefs overlap in different cultures and different nations, but there are major differences that if not understood can result even in personal harm. So we should be very careful. In the United States, um, religious diversity is accepted. They are tolerant of Protestant, Catholic, Jewish, Buddhist, Hindu, Muslim, and any other personal beliefs. But other foreign countries are less tolerant in case for the diversity of religions. In connection with the religion, there is great need for tolerance. Buddhism, Hinduism, and Muslim religions are found in many parts of the world. Uh, so, for instance, these three religions forbid consumption of, like in Islam, forbid consumption of alcohol. There's no liquor is served as at business affairs. So they appreciate, they respect this religious value. And religious holidays affect international communication. Like if there is a religious holiday in America, in China, in Saudi Arabia. So we from here, from Pakistan, we cannot communicate on that day, or we cannot set deadlines for business transaction for that day because they are on religious holidays. So we, for business communication, we also need to understand their, along with the education, politics, we should also understand and learn about their religion, their religious values, their religious holidays, their religious festivals. Uh, Religious holidays affect national communication. They interrupt work schedules and delaying responses to requests. So we should, if we get some response delayed by a country, we should not be reacting harsh. That why you communicate on time, but rather we should understand that what was the reason, and if the reason was some religious matter and religious event or holiday, then we should understand before communication. Then is social norms. Social norms beyond the immediate family. A bond may exist between persons based on caste, class, age, or even special interest. So one should be aware of a nation's social norms. In various ways, any national environmental constraints, education, law, regulation, economics, politics, religion affects our nation's social norms. In many countries, a male line of the family profoundly influences some business decisions. So we should know this social norm in our culture as well. In Pakistani, the males take the decisions. So while doing business transactions and dealings, we should keep in mind this social norm in different cultures. There's the family and how its members relate to one another. Decisions, buying patterns, they relate to one another. Pooling of resources relate to one another. How much the buying power is of one family member. So these all are social norms, and special interests are also affected by family members. So they affect behavior and business communication. So to effectively communicate and to get the message get clear, uh, understood well by them and by we as well. So we should understand their social norms. Beyond the immediate family, also the bond exists, as I have told you, exists between persons based on caste, class, age, or even special interest. So we should be aware of our nation's social norms.